And I remember being in the room, and I remember leaning on the balcony, and I remember looking out at the blue swim up and the palm trees, and I had tears in my eyes because I felt sad. And I remember at the time thinking, if I'm not happy in paradise, I will never be truly happy. And that then sent me down somewhere dark, because again, as I've said, and you and I agree on this, that I believe that it's the absence of light that takes us down rather than anything else. And I remember feeling that way. And then we hit 2020.
Just when we thought.
Dun, dun, dun. And I honestly, and this is why the start of the pandemic hit me as hard as it did. Because I promise you now, right, at the end of 2019, October, November 2019, I had started my university degree. I was like, what do I enjoy? I enjoy writing. I'm going to do... I'd never been to university.
Yep.
I never even did my A-levels because of reasons that we explained. I barely scraped through with a couple of GCSEs. Yep. No one in my family had been to university. And we'd spoken about it, and you said, you enjoy writing, go do writing.
Yeah.
So I found the degree. I'd started the degree. As well as this time, I do aerial sports, I do hoop, and I do pole fitness, and I love them. I've actually done pole for many a year and hoop for many a year. But it was around this time that I was really invested. I was really going for it. I was training about 8 hours a week. I was covered in bruises and I loved it. You know, I was really, really throwing myself into that. I'd also started weightlifting, and I was getting personal bests each week. We had got annual passes to Disneyland Paris, and we were going to Disneyland Paris every so often. We'd gone on several holidays. I honestly, toward the end of 2019, I was like, my life is good. And I was like, you know what, that bad time I was having earlier in the year, I can see the light. I'm coming out the other side of it. I can see the light. And I was like, this is amazing. And I absolutely loved every part of my life and what was going on. I was so happy. I felt I'd found a bit of a purpose. I felt I'd found things I enjoyed.
I think this is actually, I just want to interject
here.
Absolutely. The thing that you're saying, it makes absolute sense to me, because it feels like, you know, just to rewind a little bit, you know, from my perspective of what I'm hearing from you, your personal perspective, and me stepping outside of it and looking at what's going on, you get to the point where you start to, you know, so when you started to bake, baking being initially a pleasant distraction, something you can enjoy, take your mind off of the dark stuff. But then, of course, it becomes a purpose, because now you're starting to build your business, for example. You're starting to become known for what you do. You're starting to build a following on social media, and it becomes more than just a distraction. Then it becomes a passion, and it becomes something that you're really proud of building as well. And then there was that moment where you didn't necessarily instantly fall out of love with it, but it stopped being the thing that you thought it was going to be, I suppose.
It stopped being the thing I could go to cheer me up, because it was my job.
That's it. And so it didn't hold the same place in your heart anymore. And I think that was, I wouldn't say existential crisis, but you know, when you were saying, I don't feel like I'm worth anything, I'm here, what's my point, that sort of thing. That's what can happen when we lose an actual, you know, a thing to shoot for.
It felt a bit like grief as well. It felt a bit like losing something again, of which I have lost so much.
I suppose it become like a foundation stone on your own identity, I suppose. And then, of course, that crumbles. And suddenly everything's fallen to bits again. And I remember at the time, I felt so like I'd let you down, you know, because, and I know this is how partners will often feel when their partner goes through depressive times or suffers with this stuff, because, I mean, you feel like, well, they should be happy with, you know, I'm not doing my job, am I? Because and you know, pile that on top of the fact this is what I do for a living, is help people with this.
Well, and as well, then I felt guilty for feeling down, because I didn't want it to be a reflection on you. So I had guilt about the feelings as well.
Well, this is what I strongly suspected, was that you were keeping half of it from me because you didn't want to give me those feelings, like I was letting you down, you know. But fortunately, you know, my kind of my ego is I'm happy for where we are now. You know, I know it has nothing to do with what's going on with me, because I feel like I understand it on some level in terms of the reason you were in a good place then when you were doing your uni work. You know, because you literally, you kind of found that thing that you'd always loved, and you now had a purpose. You knew you wanted to be the first person ever in your family to have a degree.
Yeah.
You knew you wanted to be a writer. That's what you love doing. And this is the thing, I've seen that ever since I've known you, how much you love. When you start writing, you're gone.
I'm Alexander Hamilton.
That's it. You're just like you're working, day and night. Why does she write like she's running out of time? That sort of thing. You're all the way in there.
Yeah.
And that's amazing. And also you had the things you were doing with your fitness, your aerial and weightlifting. That wasn't just distraction. That was making you feel awesome about you.
Or your exercise endorphins.
Yeah, it's bosh. No, I mean, what I mean is that it was you building you.
Yes.
And that's an amazing thing when we find that passion. Yeah. So your work passion was there. Yeah. Your self-development and kind of well-being passion was there.
We were going on holidays. We were going on trips.
Your pure, indulgent, joyful times were there as well. And our relationship, as it's always been, was amazing.
Rock
can
solid.
I just say? Yeah, exactly.
And then the pandemic hit.
Yeah, it's like Grand Designs, the latest series, where you get to that bit in it where, and then 2020 happened.
Yeah, it feels like Kevin McLeod should be commenting on this. But and then that's exactly what happened. And then I can remember in March, April, June, July, August, September, feeling so angry that my life, that I had spent so long in turmoil, that I felt again, no, I just got it to where I wanted it to be. Because I love routine, I'll be honest. As much as I love doing nothing, I love routine. So the fact that I had pole on this day, I had weightlifting this day, I had uni work on this day, I had work on this day. I had scheduled in my weeks, and I loved the schedule. And I loved what I was doing and when I was doing it. And then come March, boom, stop. Everything stopped. And I know it stopped for everyone. I'm not unique in this situation. But everything stopped. And I was like, oh, okay, well, this will be a thing for a little bit, for 3 weeks, as we said in the last one. And then when it carried on, I was like, oh, and I felt my grip on my reality slowly loosening. And I felt like, I think the way I described it to you, I felt like at the start of the pandemic, I was holding a big bunch of balloons, and each balloon was something I enjoyed. It was aerial, it was hoop, it was writing, it was this, it was that. And one by one, those balloons were being popped until I had no balloons and I was falling on the floor, and that's kind of how it felt. And then that's when I got sad again. And that's when I hit a really bad place. But this time it's felt, and I know I'm not alone here, just based on the messages and emails that I've received from people who listen to what I do, it has felt like a roller coaster, a corona coaster, if you will. And it feels like some days you feel like you're at the top and you can cope with it, and some days you're at the bottom and you absolutely can't. And it's been that up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down that has resulted into, again, what we've referred to, emotional exhaustion.
Yes.
Now, the reason I wanted to tell my story and the reason I wanted to get all of this across from start to finish was not for people to feel sorry for me, was not for people to be like, oh God, hasn't she been through hell? Because I know I have, I lived it, it's okay. But it's to know that so many times in my life, I was told that there was something wrong with me. I was told that I was broken, that I needed fixing, when really, if I lay it all out to you as I have now, are you really surprised I was struggling to cope with life? Is there any shock that as a young teenager, losing someone closest to me, going through something awful like I did, that I was feeling like I couldn't cope with life? That when I lost my rock, my mum, my number one, and then when mum died, I didn't just lose mum, I lost my singing. I lost my stability. I lost my home. Is it any wonder I didn't want to carry on? And then again and again and again. And I feel now, it's only now that I can sort of step back. And I'm not saying I've got all the answers. I'm not saying that I'm fixed by any stretch of the imagination. As I say, I had an awful, awful day the other day where I truly believed that I was in a depressive spiral I wasn't sure how to get out of, but I did. I just want to tell people who are listening to this, who might think that they're broken, that you're not. I think now that every time I've gone through a bad phase, if we can call it that, that it was a perfectly acceptable emotional response in conjunction to what I'd been through.